Every major market move has a secret. Not written in any textbook, not spoken on CNBC, not coded into your favorite indicator. It lives in the invisible space between fear and courage, between hesitation and conviction, between what the crowd believes and what the market will do next. And Jesse Livermore understood that space better than anyone who ever lived. Before we begin, let me ask you something. What do you believe is the real force behind every massive market shift? Comment your thoughts below. Let me take you back for a moment. Imagine the floor of the old bucket shops in Boston, the smell of ink, chalk dust, and fear. A young Jesse Livermore, barely a teenager, stands in a corner with a notebook, quietly tracking every tick of the tape. He isn't guessing, he isn't hoping, he isn't gambling. He's watching almost like a scientist studying the pulse of a living organism. And that's where our story begins. Because the market, whether in 1901 or 2025, moves not because of news, not because of earnings reports, not because an analyst upgraded your favorite stock. No, it moves because of psychology, mass psychology, pressure, accumulation, distribution, fear, greed, and momentum. Livermore once said, "The market is never wrong. Opinions often are." And buried inside that one line is the blueprint of every bull market. Every crash, every breakout, every sudden collapse. Every seismic move in financial history begins long before the chart reveals it. It begins in the collective emotional buildup of traders who think they understand what's coming, but don't. As I guide you through this journey, I want you to feel the weight of Livermore's world, because the story of Jesse Livermore isn't just history, it's a mirror that reflects who we are as traders. Today, our impulses, our mistakes, our potential. If you've ever chased a runaway candle, if you've ever hesitated at the exact wrong moment, if you've ever watched a winning trade evaporate because you didn't take profit, or watched a losing trade bleed because you couldn't close it, you've lived in the same psychological battlefield he did. Livermore believed that markets are like tide sifting, swelling, and crashing in predictable emotional patterns, long before the chart shows any obvious signal. The real secret behind every major market move isn't the move itself, but the pressure building underneath it. Let me paint the scene more vividly. Picture the market like a long, silent corridor. On one end stands the amateur trader, impatient, emotional, reactive. On the other end stands the professional, disciplined, studying the corridor like a hunter, listening for the faintest footsteps. The amateur rushes in when excitement peaks. The professional waits, watching the tension build, the volume tighten, the price coil, the news distort perception, the crowd overreact. Livermore always waited for the crowd to overplay its hand. And in that instant, when psychology reached a breaking point, he struck. That's the real engine behind every major market move. The breaking point. The point where emotion finally outweighs logic, creating an imbalance so powerful that price has no choice but to erupt. Today's traders often look for breakouts, trendline crosses, or RSI divergences to signal this shift. But Livermore didn't need any of that. His edge came from pattern recognition, observing human nature through price. He studied the market like a living creature. He watched how it breathed, how it hesitated, how it whispered its intentions before shouting them. To him, the market wasn't random, it was rhythmic. The buildup of pressure, the quiet before the storm, the hints hidden in volume, the slight change in tape speed, the hesitation around key levels. These weren't coincidences. They were psychological footprints left behind by millions of traders acting on instinct. And that's the essence of this entire documentary. To understand the secrets behind major market moves, you must understand the emotional cycles of traders, not the price patterns of charts. Because charts are just the footprints. Psychology is the animal that leaves them. Livermore's life teaches us that markets don't reward intelligence. They reward discipline. They reward patience. They reward the trader who waits for the moment when everyone else can't wait any longer. Every great rally is born from disbelief. Every crash is born from denial. Every breakout starts as quiet accumulation. Every collapse begins as loud euphoria. And Livermore became a legend because he learned to recognize these emotional peaks before the crowd even sensed them. So, as we move deeper into this cinematic journey, I want you to imagine yourself walking beside him, feeling what he felt, noticing what he noticed, learning to read the psychological currents that stir beneath every candle. Because the moment you learn to see the market the way he saw it, you stop reacting, you stop chasing, you stop fearing, and for the first time, you begin anticipating. This is where the story truly begins. Not with the charts, not with the trades, but with the psychology behind them. Before we move into section 2, tell me this. When you look at a major market move, whether a breakout or a collapse, what do you think caused it? Share your answer in the comments. Every major market move ends the same way. It begins quietly, not with fireworks, not with dramatic headlines, but with a subtle shift in human behavior that only a trained eye can see. And once you learn to recognize that shift, the market stops being a battlefield and becomes a language you can finally read. Before I close, let me ask you one more thing. At the end of a major market move, would you have the discipline to act, or would emotion still hold you back? Comment below. Now, let's bring everything home. We've traveled with Livermore through the corridors of market psychology. We've walked beside him as he listened to the rhythm of price. And we've looked into the emotional undercurrents that ignite every massive market swing. But now, we arrive at the final truth, the conclusion. Jesse Livermore spent his entire life trying to teach traders a truth many realize too late. And it's this: the end of a market move is nothing but the beginning of a trader's test. You see, the real challenge is not identifying the start of a trend. It's surviving the middle, and it's respecting the end. Most traders fail, not because they enter too early, but because they refuse to leave when the story is over. They hang on, hoping for one more push, one more candle, one more miracle. The same emotions that blind them in the beginning, hope, greed, fear, trap them again at the end. Livermore watched this cycle unfold thousands of times. He once said, "The big money is made by sitting, not thinking." But sitting doesn't only mean riding a trend, it means waiting for the moment when your conviction is no longer backed by the market itself. And that's where many traders break. After a massive run, after a euphoric breakout, after a parabolic melt-up, the tape begins to change. Subtly, quietly, almost imperceptibly. Volume dries up, price hesitates, momentum weakens. The crowd becomes overconfident. Analysts turn the loudest right before the reversal. New traders rush in at exactly the worst time. And the professional Livermore's kind of trader starts feeling something the crowd never detects. Discomfort. A sense that the tape is no longer behaving naturally. Not panicked, not fearful, just aware. This is the art of knowing when the move is ending. Livermore believed endings were predictable because human exhaustion is predictable. A crowd can only hold extreme greed for so long. It can only sustain extreme panic for so long. Eventually, the emotional wave breaks, and the market reverts to logic. Think of every major collapse in history. Think of every euphoric bull run. They never ended because of one event. They ended because the psychological fuel behind the move ran out. And here's the part that modern traders still underestimate. The price move ends long before the chart proves it. The crowd only sees the end. In hindsight, the professional sees it. In behavior expressed through price, tempo, volume, cadence, order flow, rhythm. That's why Livermore didn't trade charts. He traded behavior. So how does this apply to you, to the modern world? To these markets, where algorithms battle algorithms and headlines hit faster than lightning. Simple. The tech has changed. The execution has changed. The tools have changed. But the humans, pressing the buy and sell buttons, they haven't changed at all. Fear still spikes the same way. Greed still blinds the same way. Hesitation still kills the same way. Denial still traps the same way. If Livermore sat beside you today and watched Bitcoin, Tesla, Nvidia, crude oil, or Forex pairs, he'd read them the same way he read the tape in 1907. Because the psychology is identical. Every market, move old or new still, breathes on emotion. And now, we arrive at the essence of this conclusion. If you want to master markets, you must master emotional timing, not price timing. The difference is subtle, but like price timing is guessing when a candle will move. Emotional timing is recognizing when traders can't control themselves anymore. Livermore watched for emotional exhaustion. He watched for panic peaks. He watched for fear evaporating into numbness. He watched for greed mutating into arrogance. And when he sensed those psychological extremes, he didn't wait for confirmation. He acted. That was the secret behind every major fortune he made. He wasn't predicting the market. He was reading people. And that is the cinematic truth I leave you with. Behind every major market, move, every rally, every crash, every breakout, every collapse stands the same invisible force. Human nature. As long as humans trade, market moves will follow the same emotional script. Your job as a trader is not to predict the plot. It's to recognize the pattern, because once you can see those patterns, once you can feel the psychology building, once you can sense the shift before the chart reveals it, you stop being part of the crowd. You start standing above it, and the market transforms from something chaotic to something almost poetic. So let me leave you with this final reflection. A trader who masters price can win sometimes. A trader who masters emotion can win for a lifetime. Now it's your turn to step into Livermore's mindset. Your turn to read behavior, not noise. Your turn to recognize when a move is beginning and when it's ending. Your turn to stop reacting and start understanding. And now, to close this documentary-style journey, what was your biggest takeaway from Jesse Livermore's approach to timing major market moves? Share your thoughts below. Your insight may help another trader find clarity. This is more than trading. It's psychology. It's discipline. It's human nature played out in candlesticks. And if you can learn to read the people behind the price, the market will never look the same again.